Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. What we're going to look at today is the second release from Kajika. This is the 1/700th scale high, which follows on from their previous Congo. And in addition to this, we're also going to look at the 9 extras that are also available for this kit. Okay, so let's have a look inside the box. Well, let's look at the box to start with. Kajika 1/700th scale. This is their second kit, as I said in the intro. This is the high again. This is from 1915. So this is when she was brand new as well. The high was the one that was probably slightly different to the other 3 in the class. But I'll do some investigating and check that out in the second part of the video. And then what I've got on the side, I think just some pictures of, there's the Congo, the previous one, and the Haruna is obviously going to be the next one that they're going to make out of this class. So let's open up the box, see what's inside. So starting off, instructions, single piece of paper, usual format for Kajika and Flyhawk as well. I've done a lot in this shape. So they look all good, nice and clear. We'll have a close look at those as we go through them step by step. And then inside, everything seems to be individually bagged. There's plenty of parts there. A decal sheet, a weight, a piece of paper at the bottom. Just the usual. Don't let kids play with it. So that's all pretty neat. So what I'll do is I'll get all the sprues out the bags and we'll have a quick look-see. Okay, so here's all the parts. I'll have a quick look through them and we'll have a close-up look when we go through the steps, and also there'll be high-resolution close-up photographs of all these on the website and more photographs than you see in this video as well. So, usual funnels are hollow, lots of fine small parts, really small attachment points, really nice detail. Funnel caps are see-through, hollow, whatever the word is. They're not just a solid lump of plastic as you see on some of the kits. So those are nice. Main deck. The sprue protecting the point of the deck. So that looks all rather nice. Lots of detail. There's planking detail on there as well. There's the base. This is obviously a waterline model. The turrets and some of the main parts that they go on the deck, they came in their own resealable bag. That's the rear of the ship. So I think this will go, yeah, something like that. So that looks good. Again, nice detail on the nice planking detail there. Sprue J, again, lots of small parts, fine detail, nice pieces, small attachment points, and all the ejector pin marks are on the sprue itself. Here's the main hole. That looks rather nice. Some plate detail on the side there as well. Portholes. Really nice detail on it. Then we come down to here's the main guns and the secondary armament. Other parts of the turrets. Sprue X, looks like there's masts. More funnels, alternative funnels perhaps. And then the final one is the boats, ship's boats with interior detail. So all that looks really quite nice. So the next bit, as I said in the beginning, is we have Kajika also produce extras for this kit, usually the sort of, photo etch sets, things like that. They did the same for their first kit, the Congo, as well. But I've got a full set of those, so what I'll do now is I'll just clear these away for a second and I'll get the extras in so I can have a quick look at those. Okay, so here's all the extras you can get from Kajika for the Hiei. So I'll start off with the biggest one, is a display base. Comes with metal things to make it stand proud. So we'll do close-ups of these as well, have a close look at these. Then we've got a photo etch set for this, instructions on the back there. We also have a masking set. So I'll have to check on those. It looks like these you put basically over the deck so you can paint the superstructure without painting the deck. Wooden deck. Looks like there's nice detail on there, so not all the planks, it's not identical, you see different planks. Then we come along, there's a nameplate. And across here we've got the usual, there's the 15cm barrels, 36cm barrels, anchor chain, and rigging produced by G. van der Wasten. So it's about one of the nicest ones on the market right now. So I'll quickly open these up and we can have a quick look see inside. Well, some of the barrels are a bit tiny, I'm not going to open those. Okay, so it took me a little while, but here's the nameplate all put together. It comes, basically it's on perspex and it's sealed both sides with paper. Take one side off and you're left with a pretty neat nameplate. Looks pretty good, it's been etched on the back. That's pretty neat. Here's the stand. You can see that's also the same. You take the top coat off, that's perspex underneath, and that's quite nice. And then especially if we were to put it on there like that, it'd look even nicer with the metal stands to go in between. So what we'll do next is we'll go through the instructions and we'll also have some close-up looks at these items as well, and look at the instructions and see where they all come in. So all in all, it's looks pretty neat. It's quite a kit. The Hiei was the second ship of the Congo class of battle cruisers. The Congo was completely built in England. The Hiei, the major parts were constructed in England, then shipped to Japan, and she was actually assembled in Japan. She went through a few stages in her life. Obviously, as she was built, that's how this kit is of her in 1915. 1929, she was demilitarized and used as a training ship. In 1937, she was rebuilt as a fast battleship, and that's the way she stayed until she was sunk in 1942. There's, I think, 13 boxings of the Hiei kit over the years by Fujima and Hasegawa, but these are all of her as a fast battleship. There's nothing in plastic of her as she is in this kit shortly after her commissioning. I couldn't find anything in resin either, although that may exist. So this is the first kit of the Hiei in plastic in as she was when she was commissioned. Because this is obviously another very similar to the Congo that Kajika released earlier, there's a lot of sprues that are the same. Basically, sprue M of the original Congo kit is gone, replaced by a larger sprue X. There's also a new main hull and some new superstructure parts. And these changes account for 324 parts in the box, but I'm pretty sure that not all of those are going to be used. It's also 5 larger parts, a metal base plate and a small decal sheet. So that's enough about the ship and the overall of the kit. Let's go through each of the steps and have a close-up look at some of the parts. Step 1 is basically putting the bridge together. along with some smaller details on the bridge, searchlights and some small guns. And straight away you get to sort of see a feel for the amount of fine detail that is included in this kit. Step 2 is the masts, but this is a completely new set of masts for the Hiei. That was one of the differences between the Hiei and the Congo. And again, quite a lot of parts for some masts and some fine detail. Step 3 puts together the funnels and the superstructure in the centre of the ship along with a couple of ship's boats. I know the funnels are completely hollow and the funnel caps are not solid. They have detail on them as well. So again, there's plenty of fine detail here, enough to keep you busy, and even looking at the ship's boats, there's a lot of detail on those as well. Steps 4 and 5 are all about the armament. Step 4, you assemble the secondary guns prior to them being installed later, and step 5 is you assembling the main armament, and it's the same turrets as used in the first release, the Congo release, with a couple of little adjustments that were made to the Hiei, so they're actually a tiny little bit different. Step 6 has you putting the main hull together. In this kit there's a new main hull. It's different to the Congo, and then you put the decks on and you install the secondary armament at this time as well. In step 7 you attach the ship's boats to their davits. I might actually kind of do this later because it looks like you'd have to get the angles that you attach the davits, you have to get those correct. It'd be a shame to attach the davits to the boats and then when you offer them up to the ship in the next step you realise that the davits don't actually fit in their holes. And again, there's a lot of fine detail in these boats. Step 8, as I mentioned before, you're putting the ship's boats onto the main hull, and if you've followed the steps you'll have the davits already attached, and you add a lot of other smaller parts to the ship as well. In step 9, we're essentially putting the ship together now. All the main assemblies that you've built in the previous steps, you fit those in place, and there's a couple of part reviews as well for adding even more small pieces onto the ship. Steps 10 and 11 are adding a few more small details. Step 10 you add some small parts to the bow of the ship, and step 11 you add some small parts to the stern of the ship, and then this build is complete. As for painting, the paints are called out in Mr. Hobby and Tamiya, so that's reasonably straightforward. There's plenty of detail given as to what colours need painting things. There's no camouflage, so it's reasonably straightforward to paint. The decals, the only decal is there's 2 options of a Japanese flag to go on the stern. And overall, it looks like a reasonably straightforward painting job. You could do a lot of the painting of assemblies as you're building. Now we'll talk briefly about the optional extras that are available to purchase to go with this kit. And I'll just repeat, these are not part of the kit. These are extra things you can buy. So we start off with the PE fret, which is a pretty big PE fret. I tried counting them, I think there's 123 parts on here. And of course it has all the railings. There's also a lot of parts replace plastic parts. We've got stairwells and the supports that the ship's boats sit on, those get replaced. Cranes are replaced, a couple of stands. There's a couple of raised platforms are replaced. The funnel caps are replaced. The main plastic parts that support the centre superstructure, those are all replaced as well. Overall, you'll see when they're all on there, I'm pretty sure you'll definitely see there's quite a lot of brass scattered all over the ship. There is, of course, metal barrels to replace the main armament and the secondary armament. Although the main barrels on the kit itself are pretty good. I can't remember seeing 1/700th scale barrels that are actually hollow at the end before, but if you look closely at the kit in plastic, they are indeed hollow. You can also get a ship's anchor chain, and there's also rigging available, and this is done by Ushi Van der Osten, which is, I hazard to guess, about the best rigging available on the market at the moment. There's two ways to go with making the deck easier for yourself. You can either go with the wooden deck, which looks very nicely detailed indeed. It's the wood is not all just one pattern. There's actually different colours on it, so it doesn't look like a monotone texture. And that covers obviously all the main deck and superstructure decks. What you could also do, if you don't want to do that, is get the masking set, which they call a masking seal. And I'm pretty sure what that'll allow you to do is paint the wooden deck and then cover it all up with these masking sheets, so you can paint the superstructure with an air gun without having to worry about overspray. And the last two bits are there's a nameplate and a stand available. Both of these are in etched acrylic, and they come, as you saw earlier in the video, with like a paper sheet on both sides, so you have to peel that paper sheet off. And then it is a bit fiddly getting the tiny pieces of the paper sheet off that are around the text and the etching, but the overall effect is pretty impressive. So an overall conclusion. It's obviously the second kit from Kajika. It's as good as anything that is available on the market. It's up there with the same standards that you get from Flyhawk, which you'd expect considering they're sister companies. They've tapped into a sort of a newer market with First World War Japanese ships. Like I said, the level of detail is really good. You're not going to find anything more detailed than these. This can also be a downside for some people with a lot of very small parts. So it's definitely not something you'd want to start with. But if you've got several kits under your belt, this would be a good thing to go for. The extra parts, if you were to add the PE, the metal barrels and so on to this kit, you'd end up with a really impressive looking ship. As good as anything out there at the moment. This is sort of setting new standards. They're as good as anything anybody else is turning out or has turned out. So many thanks to Kajika for sending us this kit along to have a look at. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of more videos as they come out.